George.
George of the jungle, friend to you and me.
Welcome to Grey Areas on this Wednesday afternoon, talking all things greyhound racing here on RSN at 927. My name's Jason Adams, and as always, joined by the NFL god, an absolute genius when it comes to plucking a certainty on the National Football League over in the US, Georgie Ferrugia. How are you?
I'm well, mate. Hope you had a good weekend. Did you watch the Philadelphia Eagles win?
No, I didn't. I was at the Charles Dickens Tavern on Collins Street on Sunday. John Henry, have you heard of that joint?
I've not well.
Yeah.
I was there and I was watching who was playing the game afterwards.
The Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that's it. And I saw the score from the previous game. I'm like, this boy's a genius.
Well, he was only
Jeez, he
short.
does it well.
Hey, other tip, Champagne Cuddle.
But you went hard.
Yeah. I thought the Eagles would win, but Champagne Cuddles did the right thing by us, didn't it?
Yep.
At the Meadows on Saturday. So now we've got a Super Bowl. We've got to try to tip a winner in that.
Why is it 2 weeks away?
It's just the build-up, I think, and then getting people.
There's always a break, yeah.
Yeah. They have like a Pro Bowl in between, like an All-Star sort of thing, and then...
Is that like an EJ Whitten Legends game, or...?
No, current players. So it'll be more like a State of Origin type sort of, or an NBA All-Star thing. So nobody watches it really. So anyway, only if we can bet on it, then it'll be...
Are Kansas going for 3 in a row?
Yeah, and no team's ever done it.
Jeez.
There you go.
Amazing. If you want to get involved at any stage throughout the show about absolutely anything, text in 0416 90 50 52. Lots to cover off on. We'll get stuck into some other sport happening at the moment shortly. Action from the Meadows last Saturday night, Brisbane tomorrow night, Ballarat tonight, Sandown tomorrow night, and we'll finish off with a bit of fun as well. But in the meantime, Monday night, I should say, Mitchie Owens, did you see that in the Big Bash?
Unbelievable.
Top knock. I tuned in as he was sort of starting to tee off, maybe 2 or 3 overs into the innings. I thought, hang on, this is something here.
Yeah, it was. My son Nate kept coming in telling me how many sixes he was hitting, and it was good to see the Hurricanes win. But the problem is it leaves the Stars as the only organisation not to win one. So hopefully next year.
And arguably had the strongest list in the history of the BBL for a long time.
Yeah, for a few of them, yeah. It just tells you, mate.
And
but now we're switching off cricket mode, right? And it's all about footy.
Oh,
and
what? They're saying that on the first day of the test today in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, no. My mind's already at the SCG and for opening round, mate.
Must have had a loss in the cricket, Johnny, isn't it? These sort of blokes talk through their pockets quite often.
Yeah, we do.
He's throwing a bit of vinegar around the old patch this afternoon.
He's always in good
form.
Hey, speaking of vinegar, I walked into the studio this morning, Georgie, nice and early, and you come in a few minutes before we get underway. I walk into the studio next door and I think, I'm going to grab a seat. Righto, there's one there. I need to sit down, open the laptop and get some things done. Turn the seat around. It's got John's chair on the back of it. What is the go, Johnny? Are you that precious around here that you've got to be specific about what chair you're sitting in?
Yeah, well, I've got a favourite chair. Sean Cosgrove has a favourite chair. He hasn't got to the stage where he's labelled his yet, but he knows which one it is. And if it goes missing, he will go and get it and retrieve it and bring it back in and says that's mine. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you're going to spend 5 hours in here every afternoon or 6 hours, you got to have the right chair.
Yeah.
Anyway. Greyhounds.
Anyway.
And we haven't even got onto the thermostat yet. But
no, it's always freezing cold in here. You've been back a week now, John. You still haven't sorted this issue out.
We'll get it done.
Radio stations are renowned worldwide for having air conditioning issues, and it's true because we've got to get onto the greyhounds, but there are too many rooms that are of different sizes. So we have small recording booths that turn into bottle shops. You could hang meat in there, and then the bigger studios get quite warm. And then if you try and reverse it to make the bigger studios nice and cool, then you need an igloo in the other one.
My dad's doing a lamb for Easter and he needs a place to hang it. So
Perfect.
I think we found our destination.
Right next to John Henry on a Saturday afternoon.
So it's not unique to RSN.
No.
Unreal. Lots happening, Georgie. As we mentioned, got a text in. Hi, guys. How about telling us what's going on at Hillsville from Greg? There's a medical incident on tracks.
Yes.
So that's the latest from James Vandermart. So that is why there has been a indefinite delay there, and as soon as we find out more, John Henry will be right onto us as to when that race is coming up.
We've got an unwell patron, so we're just hoping they're okay. Yep.
Yeah, so it'll be back a race, probably 2. We'll see what happens. Well, James will keep us informed with that.
Yep, that's it. All right, so that's the latest from Hillsville. In the meantime, George, there's been a Well, it's a big period of time in Queensland specifically, but let's look back before we look forward into the Meadows on Saturday night. And the performance of the evening was clearly with Hotel Whiskey 1. He's just redlining at the moment. I mean, the splits that he put on the board, it's just Group 1 class, aren't they? 497, 1748, and definitely made a really strong case for the Temlee Saturday week.
I'm going to know the answer to this, but how was the race data? How did that look with Hotel Whiskey 1? Because as you said, that straight line speed to go 497, look, he began okay, but I've probably seen him begin a little bit better even. And to still go 497 and 1748 down the back, that's what wins you Group 1 races. So I know the camp are very, very confident in this greyhound the way he's going at the moment, and there's a big month of racing coming up. Obviously, like you said, does he get into the Temlee? Current form says yes. And then you've got, obviously, the Australian Cup Series on the back of it. He does it on 1-turn, 2-turn tracks, Jace. Where's Poppy was a good run behind him. Field Day was good too, but when you're highballing like that, it's hard to get run down. The other thing too was, I don't think another greyhound broke 30 on the night, apart from those two greyhounds I mentioned. In the other races, I think everything won over 30 seconds. So to go 29.75 is a tremendous effort.
Yeah, and you're right. His data backs it up as well. I mean, fastest of the first 50 metres for the whole program, 380, but not fastest of the first 20 metres. So you're right in saying he didn't necessarily spear the start.
Yeah.
But after that, electric. To the 300 metre mark, he's gone 16.70, and the next best is 2/10 away. That's a bit of a margin.
And I think we've discussed. The greyhound's name.
Give me more information.
Escapes me. Dave Crawford's greyhound that
In the hub?
In the hub. He races like in the hub in a sense that you wouldn't be concerned for 1 second if you drew box 8 with this greyhound in a Group 1 race. And he'd be. We're not talking Phoenix later this year, but if a greyhound like that come out, the advantages of taking a greyhound like that into the Phoenix, that you don't mind him drawn off the track instead of a greyhound that is desperate for 1, 2 or 3, is worth its weight in gold. So obviously you don't get to pick your box drawer in a Temlee if he happens to make it, but I tell you what, those splits, Jace, they're world class.
Yeah, that they are. So now I guess the attention turns to he will be nominated for the Temlee. There's a long list of nominations that you would expect. Is he one you'd be throwing in? Because when you start to put all these names together who we expect might nominate, it's tricky work.
Well, if you go on the basis of the new formula in terms of wanting your best 8 in there, but obviously there's still Group 1 connotations here for sure for some greyhounds. I mean, you don't want to be leaving out Group 1 winners. Whoever wins the Gold Bullion,
well,
for
I think
instance.
he can if they're not good enough. If they're not in the best 8, I think he can.
Say if a Good Odds Copper wins or a Deadly Avenger wins the Gold Bullion in 29.40 again, I think he's into a Temlee and stuff like that. So I think if there's space for him like that, for sure, Hotel Whiskey 1 has to come into consideration. If we're talking about Lanfranco coming into consideration for his fast run over 700 metres, well, Hotel Whiskey 1 has to come into consideration as well. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, we're not going to know 100% until all the nominations are in, and then those decisions have to be made. But I tell you what, he certainly put his hand up after Saturday.
Yeah, there's people always thinking what the criteria is for being selected in a race like that. So it is career record, group and metro performances, recent form, winning times, record at the Meadows, and basically all runners who have a realistic chance of winning the race. So It's not specific to anything, because I guess it is quite broad as to what you can assess to be strong assets when going to a race like that. He checked the nominations before. Miss Envy is the only one nominated at this point in time. So good to hear that she'll be going in that direction. And when you speak about putting in these sort of greyhounds into a race like this, I mean, we have to look back to last year, George, where Explicit went in. I mean, leading up to him going into the Temlee, he didn't have a start in the city for 3 months, and his form was based around grade 5's restricted win, albeit in a great chase. But he started favourite and went on to win the race, and the rest is history. I think it's important to certainly weight the criteria towards what's happening at this point in time to create the best spectacle for greyhound racing.
It sounds silly. I almost have to train my mind to look away from that 100% group form criteria that I grew up with, when I say grew up with, while I was working at the Meadows. I mean, essentially, that's what was looked after. There was still some conjecture with a greyhound who might have won 2 Group 3s as opposed to one who's won a Group 2. Now it is largely opinion-based with some GRV grading sprinkled over the top, obviously. So, yeah, it's certainly open for interpretation a lot more these days. But there's been a couple more recently, Jace, where I thought the backlash was not too bad.
There wasn't much around the top guns that's gone.
No, as opposed to years gone by where there were set criteria and there were still people saying, well, I'm not sure how this greyhound gets in ahead. Because of all the different peaks and troughs that we go through, where you talk about greyhounds that haven't raced for 2 months. Should they get in ahead of a greyhound that's won his last 4, nearly broke the track record at Sandown? So all that stuff used to come into play a little bit more, I suppose, than it does now.
Yeah, back in the day where an Adelaide Cup winner would walk into a Top Gun more often than not.
Yeah, and if it was a 30-1 winner of the Adelaide Cup, with all due respect for them, they come to the Meadows if they were a local dog and they would start 100-1. They were no hope. But that was the criteria set back then, so they deserved their spot. But I think we're in a better place now.
Yep, we'll speak more about that on Friday. No two ways about that as we build up to the Australian Cup Carnival. In the meantime, we look towards Ballarat tonight with the Western Districts Derby, George, and we've seen the scratching of Zeus Thunderbolt, which is disappointing, but still some plenty involvement from the Wheelers with these poor greyhounds, and also Shimmer Stan, who looks to be a pretty handy type for the dailies. Yeah,
to suggest that it threw the cat amongst the pigeons is an understatement, because Zeus Thunderbolt would have been obviously the likely preferred choice for a lot of people. I think it's so open now. I look towards a greyhound like Giacomo of Box 6, who, as I said, who made a Silver Chief, is probably heading into that class of greyhound where he can stand up in this type of field. He's won 9 out of 20. He's got tremendous early speed when he gets it right. So I think he can outpace a few of them around him and be one of the greyhounds to beat. So he's my choice for tonight. But look, it's a pretty even field. You'd have to suggest now with Zeus Thunderbolt out. Not that he was immoral, but if he led all the way, it certainly wouldn't have come as a surprise.
And it should be a really good race as well as a spectacle, because Short Straw Trev is probably going to lead from box 2, but his strength isn't that good, so it should be a race-changing complexion as they turn for home, that is for sure.
6:39, the first split. Short Straw Trev is...
I don't know first splits of Ballarat, so tell me what that's
insane. It's insane. And he's by Beast Unleashed, who has thrown a few of these greyhounds who show tremendous speed, but that is just crazy. So, yeah, off that draw, I mean, you compare it to the greyhound that I selecting, Giacomo, who went 6:49, so that's already nearly 2 lengths ahead of him as they reach that first split. So,
did you mention Darcy Dakota is the first reserve out of box 4?
Yeah, who's won 17 out of 30 races. So certainly no slouch to get in there as well. So good little race, 15,000 to the winner. Used to be 25, but obviously there was some prize money cuts during that period where the turnover wasn't great, Jason. So hopefully if that trend continues where we do see some upturn in that, some of these races go back to some of those prize money, or do you think it could be better well spent?
It's always disappointing to see cuts in any areas, but I think even like the Melbourne Cup's a bit of an example, and it's a totally different example going back to late last year. I mean, that had a cut and no one would know. Doesn't change the quality of the race.
Yeah.
And it seems pretty similar with the Western Districts Derby as well. So you don't want to lean on that and say because it doesn't change the quality, then you shouldn't invest in the prize money. No. That's the wrong way to look at it.
It is.
But it doesn't have a huge impact.
No, yeah, you're right, especially for connections. I mean, the more money they can earn for the amount of work they put in, well, fair enough.
Yep, 100% right. And quite often, I mean, you want the prize money to match the challenge that's at play. And more often than not in a series like this, it is really challenging.
It is.
All right, so tomorrow night we turn to Brisbane with the running of the Gold Bullion. Now, we wrapped up these heats last Friday, George, and now you've had some time to process what the field looks like. I mean, it's not clear. Outside of Good Odds Cobber drawing box 1 and understandably being the favourite, I mean, it's pace aplenty. It is talent aplenty. Vincent Bale, Deadly Avenger, Mapunga Tully, Morton, Daisy's Roy's going to show speed. Warm Cockles is drawn terribly out there in 8. So this is a race of high intensity tomorrow night.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately for punters, it's not one of those races that I think a lot of people could go in with a lot of confidence, Jace, because of it could be separated by, whether one greyhound begins a little bit better than others. But if Deadly Avenger begins as cleanly as he did last week, I'm sure that there will be a lot of people keen for that $3.80. We're just having a look at Healesville now. There's vision of it on the screen, but it doesn't look like any greyhounds are anywhere near, and it's still saying indefinite delay, guys. So we'll keep everyone posted there. But I always find it hard to tip against Vincent Bale the way he's been going more recently, but I don't think he's as a bigger chance as lid pinging as what Deadly Avenger is. And it might just come down to that. And then how are you going to run down a greyhound running 29.5 on the bunny? So probably leaning towards Deadly Avenger.
Well, I took Vincent Bale on last week, and I can't remember who we gave Winburn, but, I mean, you just cannot rule out one like him. Still, the numbers that he set from where he was in running was just unbelievable.
He's a star. And we're talking about Tem Lee. I mean, he's one that...
He's got to go in.
Yeah, his last month of work, he won a heat of the Warragul Cup as well. He was in heat of the Sale Cup. He's had one hell of a time of it, I tell you. But win, lose or draw, he'll be hopefully lining up in the Tem Lee. Like you said, there's speed in 5 and 6 as well. Where do they sit on the first corner? We know Morton has been able to be adept at handling wide draws, Jace, but is he ready to win a Group 1 second up after such a long spell against greyhounds who have been redlining for 6 weeks, probably 8 weeks? Probably not. But some of these gun greyhounds have a knack of surprising you, but I would be surprised if Morton were to win.
The Steak Knives is the Gold Cup final tomorrow night, and I say Steak Knives very loosely because this is one of the better staying races we've seen, possibly since the likes of the Bolt Treese and Top Gun Stayers, George. I mean, and I was critical of a summer distance played at Wentworth Park a couple of weeks ago because the prize money was strong. The depth of the heats and final was really poor. It just didn't reflect the prize money on offer. But for this Gold Cup tomorrow night, these are the best stayers on offer at this point in time. You play a personal involvement here with Groovebird jumping from box 8, but an almighty challenge for her with some of the names on her inside. Yeah,
look, we needed to draw 1, 2 or 3 to be a place chance. So from box 8, it's a big challenge. Your only hope is to absolutely ping out, which is a bit of a challenge from that draw. I'm going to make a statement here about Valpolicella, and I want to start by saying that I think that 99.9% of people that are in this game as owners or trainers don't get an opportunity to own one as accomplished as her. She's been an unbelievable chaser. Her heat win was good last week. If she were to win tomorrow night, I think it would be her crowning glory easily in her career. Not prize money wise or anything like that, but I just think she faces a big challenge. So that's code for I'd be surprised if she wins and she's $5. Only because I think last week, like you said, it was a smaller field. She was able to dictate terms pretty much, get into a nice position and show what she's capable of. This week, she's up against Ethanol Water and Black Silencer and Pass Mark and these type of greyhounds too. So that's the big challenge for me, and it would be a surprise to see her win, as good as she is and as a champion as she's been of the sport.
James Vandermarch just on the PA now at Healesville saying the patron has been stabilised and they're going to run at 12.19. They're going to get them going very quickly here, and they're asking the handlers for race 3 to get organised as well. They're going to shoot for a very quick turnaround and get back on schedule as opposed to go back a start race. So he's ready to rip. Yep.
All right, good to hear. So, Johnny, when that's coming up and I'm missing it, just barge in and let us know to get to Jim at Healesville. But that staying race, it's
what have you sorry on Valpolicella?
I'd say she can't win the race.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very big on her last week, I should say. You're right. The dynamics of that race is played into her favour. For a greyhound at this point of her career, where she still looks to have no shortage of ability, it seems to be between the years and putting herself where she doesn't want to put herself.
Yeah.
And I think she's up against it tomorrow night. I'd be taking her on.
I've loved she's no star, she's no champion, but I love what Groovebird's done in our for us as owners. She's been terrific for us. But in fairness, there was Groovebird and another greyhound who are probably not strong 700-metre greyhounds, and she was in a stalking role behind them. This week it could be Ethanol Water and Black Silencer in those positions, and she's not going to be running.
We've all thought this about Valpolicella, and as has her trainer and Tony Zamet, and also her owner and Sandro Piccini, thinking, geez, we should retire her, we shouldn't retire her, she'll come out, she'll cut loose. So I
think if she wins, they will retire her because it
Yep.
would be the best way to finish a career.
Yep, indeed. All right, race 2 Hillsville, overdue, but thankfully we're here now. Let's get on track to James.
Yeah, runners about to load here, Jace. Some good news as well. There was a medical incident with one of the handlers in this race, but they've been checked over by the paramedics, and they're in the hands of the paramedics, seemingly in pretty good order. So that's a great relief and great news. Hence, we're getting race number 2 underway, and the stewarding team will be looking to put them pretty close together to save up some time. I know a few trainers as well will be racing today and then heading elsewhere to race tonight, no doubt. So they're about to load now for race number 2. $3.20 about from above us. Number 2 for Grant Masterson, and they are at the start, and they're about to go in now. So it was just awaiting Scout's Way to wander back to starting position. They have been down there at the start for some time, and they're about to link in now for race number 2. This is the second of a 12-race card up the straight today. There'll be no doubt fast gaps, rapid-fire racing on a Wednesday as they move in now with the revised start times we just await on for those last couple of races. So they're moving in, getting set now, race 2. Favourite now from above us at around 3.20 in box number 2. So they're set to run now, the green light for the second. They're racing. Hurricane Misha jumped well from the middle with Scout's Way, who's going to charge out and lead Scout's Way by a length over Hurricane Lucy, Hurricane Misha. Getting through No Magpies, then from above us, from Like It Blaze. At the end, Spinnerbait, Hurricane Misha. No Magpies hit the lead. Here's Like It Blaze, driving and getting up. Last stride, Like It Blaze will win this a nose to No Magpies in a photo finish. And look at Vista Y, came from nowhere to run third. Ahead of From Above Us, then Hurricane Lucy, Hurricane Misha. And at the end of the field, Scout's Way, who led them up, but was folding up late with Spinnerbait, timed 17.44. Red gets it last hop inside Like a Blaze, has come through and gets the nose stretched out. Takes out the second. Number 1, the winner, daughter of Superior Panama, Sassy Izzy for the Jamari Syndicate. They'll love that. Number 1 first for the Jamari boys. Second will go to number 4, the winner trained by Jordan Formosa. Second in was number 4, and that was No Magpies. Made a good, bold bid for victory. B. Frankson for Jordan Formosa, who's Cornellaed the race. Hardstyle Rico, Maggie Pie, the 8. Vista Y third for Donna Knight. Aston Rupee and Gypsy Vista came from last, got to the inside and then flew home into third placing. Interim numbers 1482 and a 230, 104, 130 and 290. Interim numbers are 1, 4, 8 and 2, 1744, and No Magpies led. Like a Blaze got it right on the woodwork. 1, 4, 8, 2 the numbers. The all clear to come on race number 2. It was a neck by 2 3/4. We'll get some revised start times for the rest of the meeting shortly here at the Ville. All clear now, race 2 on 1, 4, 8, 2.
Okay, James, thanks, mate. We'll be listening out for those revised start times. Number 1, Like a Blaze, 2.30 and $1.04. Started favourite, Jordan Formosa. Beats number 4, No Magpies, $1.30. 8 Vista Y, $2.90 and 2 from above us. The Quinella, $7.30. Exacta, $6.60. Trifecta, $73. And the first 4, $139 for 1, 4, 8 and 2. Running double 8 and 1. Jason and George, $22.
Thank you, Johnny. And aside from Albion Park tomorrow night, George, of course, a reasonable card at Sandown. The headline act is clearly the free-for-all, being race 6 to the likes of Stormy Day, Zipping Grillis, Orly Bale, Fred Rose, Joey the Jet. It's oozing in quality, that one, and a must-watch.
What about Joey the Jet winning at Horsham in 26.77, nearly breaking the track record? So that was a nice return to form for him. Good little race, isn't it? I mean, I think anyone listening on here would know that I'm an Orly Bale fan, and he comes back after drawing box 1 into box 6 here, so it's a little bit of a challenge for him and a little bit of speed drawn closer to the fence. So with Stormy Day, so an interesting little race.
All right, tipping point of view tomorrow night, what have you identified as some likely winners? We'd have a text message come in earlier saying any morals today, lads. Probably not today, George, unless you can say otherwise.
There is one today. Should we start with that? That I think will go really well. At the Meadows, race 9, number 1, pardon my pronunciation here, Poor Sakakibura.
Oh, geez.
Solly had 3 starts. It's won 2 of them at Horsham, one in 22.99, which is a hot run. I think the kennel have got a pretty high opinion of this greyhound. Look, it's $1.80, so we're not getting a king's ransom here, but I think it will be hard to beat race 9, number 1 at the Meadows. Now, tomorrow night at Sandown, Jace, I do like one in Sam Grenfell's name, race 8, number 1, Utrillo Bale. I know he's had the 5 starts over the 600 metres, hasn't missed a place, but also hasn't won a race over that distance. But more recently, I liked his run behind Zipping Kai, where he ran 34.15 himself, and more importantly, he went 9.12 early. Now, he doesn't always get the start as well as right, but I think he begins a little bit better when he's drawn closer to the fence, Jason. This is a winnable race. I know Paul Quimby's in the race, who went 34.07, also trained by the Grenfells, but I just think Utrillo Bale can lead and be fairly hard to beat. I also like one in race 11, number 2 for Paul Bartolo. Good to see Paul Bartolo back in town with My Hummingbird, a greyhound owned by Jane Carruthers, of course, who trained the Great Rapid Journey. Good win at the Meadows last start, 5.09 early, 29.90 overall. Before that, its form was pretty good, including a 29.36 win at Sandown. So I think it'd be able to dictate terms and be hard to beat. So race 9, number 1, race 11, number 2.
And a suggestion off the text as well, that one you did like at the Meadows, George, in the Pass the Buck tonight, Ballarat race 7. Have you seen the field he's engaged in?
I haven't had a good look at that.
So he's drawn the 7. He's got 2 vacant boxes on his inside, and since he won that Warragul Cup, he's been at Geelong, which was a funny old run, going 25 and 75. So we'll see what we get from him tonight, but looks well placed
Any
to
odds?
run a good race.
I didn't have a look at that, no.
He'd be rock bottom odds, you'd say, in a field like that.
Yeah. Look, his last month has been fantastic, hasn't it? And he got that monkey off the back winning the Warragul Cup, and, another quick win tonight, and who knows. So it's good to see him a little bit injury-free, Jace. I think that's always been the concern with him when speaking to Connections.
Yep. All right, speaking of at Sandown before, John?
I just got some revised start times. They're just going to stick to their slots for the next number of races, and then the last 3 races are the only 3 that have revised start times, gents. So race number 10 at Healesville will go at 2:55, which is the same time as Kembla Grange Gallops, race 2, so it might be a replay. The second last, race 11, will go at 3:10, which is the same time as Bendigo Dogs, race 4. So we'll just go to the first green light there and replay the other. And the last at Healesville today will be 3:25.
Doesn't miss a beat, this bloke, does he, George?
He's on fire.
Doesn't miss a beat. As mentioned before, we spoke about George's tips for Sandown. The slots for the launching pad went on sale yesterday. It's one of my favourite series of the year. It's really rich in prize money, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what sort of rate these slots sell at, George, and if they all will sell out. It was sort of a bit of not a stretch. They got it done last year, but I just think as we now get into this period where there's probably going to be less pups around than what there has been over the past 5 to 10 years, it's going to be interesting to see what sort of involvement there is in the launching pad. And I think it's important to get them on sale early because you want people buying without knowing what they've got in front of them from a pup point of view. You want them to buy on promise. So we'll see how it plays out, given they're on sale a little bit later than what they have been historically.
And I love this time of year too, Jace, because there are trainers, and I've been involved in this as an owner. There are trainers that want to hold back on their greyhounds so they don't go over the threshold of how many races you're allowed to win to be in a launching pad. And you've probably got some names of some greyhounds that you want to have a look at, and we can go through a couple of those.
Yeah, there is a few, and I mean it's one of those series where you can identify some now, and they come out of the woodwork. You get towards when the nominations start to come in, there's all these names coming. You go, who on earth is this dog?
Could be a greyhound that hasn't even started, right?
Won 4 of 6 in New South Wales or something like that.
Yep.
So it's one of those series. But there's a few that, look, if they continue the race over the next couple of months, it might not be eligible, but they are at the moment. And I think there's some sort of chance we might see them there. The first of them, Dalwhinnie.
Well, that's the name, isn't it? Yeah. Will they come?
Well, he's only had 4 wins and he's going to be out of action for a period of time. So ideally, when he returns, it is in that sweet spot of when the launching pad is approaching. The next one who I reckon could be a real good up-and-comer come that point in time, Texas President.
Yeah, like
been
his
good at
last 2
Sandown
wins.
over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Strength is really good. Just seems to race like a good dog.
I think trainer Angela Langton's got a few in that litter that Barsha Bell Suntory Rose litter that are probably going to be looking towards the launching pad for sure.
Yeah.
Guys, sorry to come in, just very quickly. Yeah, James has just been on the PA again. They have revised those start times, probably because they saw that some of them were clashes, particularly with their own product at Bendigo.
So they're looking after you.
So, the next one is 12:38, but the race after that's gone from will be run earlier to 12:54, not 12:58, and then 3:10. And there's a number of other changes. But look, I'll list those. I'll go through them for the audience. When you guys are finished up.
Yeah,
but the next one's 12:38, then 12:54.
All right, beautiful.
Okay.
Next one, Georgie. Nell Devere for Buddha Pal.
Yeah.
4 starts, 3 wins, returned at the Meadows on Saturday night and just looks purpose-built for a launching pad series, doesn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. Good speed, what you need. Definitely, probably a few that Daniel Pal might have that might be eligible for that too.
Yeah, has pace, strong, a split between 300 and 400 metres on Saturday night, which is a nostril off the best of the cards. So she's got some muscle as well as some pace. The next one was Laura Keeping, recent winner of the Futurity, and one that comes right into that category of, given the conditions of the launching pad, is based around young, inexperienced greyhounds. 1 to 6 wins, no more than 30 starts. I mean, she's now got 5 wins. Do you put her in cotton wool and target a series like that, or you just got to go with the wind, given the way she's going at the moment?
Yeah, it could be. It could be something, and I think Connections have had a look at the launching pad in the past, so that certainly could be one. This is we're not that far away, Jay. So we mid-March.
The heats are the first Thursday in April, the 3rd.
Oh, okay. So
there's a bit of time in between.
We're 2 months away then. Okay.
Yeah. All right, Shimmer Stands the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially his last couple of forms, and especially if he goes well tonight. And again, I think the Connections will love to have something in the launching.
Yeah, and one's a bit of a funny one. Poor Gunner.
Well, he's the X Factor one, isn't he?
He's got to turn his form around fair income. He started off like a raging fire. It's just tapered off. He doesn't look the same dog at the moment.
It would be interesting to hear from Lisa Delridge about what has happened in the last, 4 to 6 weeks. I mean,
what they've noticed within him as to why he would race differently.
I mean, surely, clearly they wouldn't be putting him in if he was sore. So the dog's sound, and he's just hasn't recaptured that early form. I wonder what the plans are as well. Do you step him up over a bit more ground, or that's very interesting. The one I was thinking about was Kenya All Up, who's won 4 out of 6. We've discussed this greyhound before. Provincial form is very, very fast. Again, do you hold him off for those 2 months to get the 2 wins? It's going to be pretty interesting.
Was that Paula Bella's one?
Yeah.
Well, he had the same approach with McKenna for the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Different size carrot, of course, but
yeah, slightly different.
We'll see what he does.
Carrot.
Slightly, just a little bit more in the realms of John Henry's bank account, that is for sure. But that's a wrap for grey areas. What I want to do, George, we're going to have a bit of fun on Friday. Now, I had a suggestion over the weekend for familiar and well-known sounds in racing, your favourite sounds, and this is right up your alley, I reckon, John. So whether it is the late scratching tone, which I love here at RSN, whether it's the lure or the tracker to trial, George, where it's got that different tone to it, and you think this dog is fair dinkum flying. Yeah, there's a different tone to it. So whatever it might be, we're going to delve into those areas on Friday. Your favourite sounds in racing.
I've got one, but I'll save it for Friday.
Last one coming up.
What's yours? The favourites gallop?
Favourites gallop.
Yeah, but you also, I love the barrier guys when you hear, sometimes when the mics are open and Matty Hill's just taking a break, like seconds before a start, as race callers do, you often hear the guys go, last one's coming up. So so all the jocks know to get ready. And you can, and it's exciting because you think, it's moving in. This is it.
Adrenaline's pumping.
Yeah.
Hello, broadcast.
Hello, broadcast. Yeah. Well, of course, they named that.
They have to be top 5.
Yeah. Hello, broadcast.
We'll save it to Friday.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we get some
that.
good text messages coming through.
Hey, just quickly, I know we need to get the hell out of the building. Georgie, do you have an opinion on Gonai Wizard won well at Warragul last night?
I haven't had a good look at that.
Tim from Kilsyth.
I'll have a good look and we'll mention that on Friday for sure. Gunai Greyhounds go pretty well.
Usually led by Johnny Barbara.
Yeah, a lot of good speed.
Yeah, they go a lot better on what his back does. I think he's had some dramas with his vertebrae over time, so hopefully he's all firing on all cylinders at the moment. But that's a wrap for Grey Areas. John Henry's about to boot us out of the building. We'll be back on Friday from midday for more.
Good on you guys. Thank you very much. 25-1.
Summer Sport is RSN Racing and Sport.
We could break it in if you know what
Tassie, the perfect place to race this summer. Head to tasracing.com.au for everything you need to help find the winners.
We say goodbye to January and ring in the last month of summer, one that promises to be the biggest and best of what's already been a huge Ladbroke Summer Racing Festival to date. In chasing news, Raiders Guide was crowned the 2024 Tasmanian Greyhound of the Year last Thursday night, and the last of Tassie's 3 big group races is upon us, with the Group 2 Ladbrokes Launceston Cup final being run on the 3rd of February. The lights were shining bright in Launceston last Friday for the Launceston Guineas and Ladbroke Stakes program. It's daytime action